morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Wednesday, October 11th, 2017.
Commissioner Rivas, Repenning, James, Davis, and Jacinto are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Tim Tyson, Bureau of Street Services.
Jim Berman, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, John Olinger, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Sade Kelly, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment. We have no commentary under the Neighborhood Council comments section. We did receive speaker cards on items number 9 for today's agenda.
All right, we'll close general public comment as well as the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Wednesday, September 13th, 2017 by Commissioner Repenning? Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item numbers 1 through 3 or 4 are assessment hearings in council districts 2, 14, and 15. Mr. Flamenco.
Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting. Items 1 through 4 pertain to lighting districts, which we are creating in conjunction with private development projects. Ballots for items 1 through 4 were mailed on August 31st, 2017. Ballots for items 1 through 4 must be received by the City Clerk's office by next Wednesday, October 18th. We have not received any objections to date on items 1 through 4. We are requesting for the board to adopt and forward items 1 through 4 forthwith to City Council.
Something going on with your microphone this morning, Ruben. Oh yeah, it's missing a mic sock. Yeah, we'll have to get that repaired for you. Any questions on 1 through 4? No questions on 1 through 4. I'll make a motion that we adopt 1 through 4, seconded by Commissioner Rivas. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda items 1 through 4. Any issues sending 1 through 4 forthwith? We will send 1 through 4 forthwith. Agenda item number 5, Council District 4, above ground facility variance 7251 West Sunset Boulevard on the Poinsettia Place side of the lot. Recommendations that the board approve the request for a variance from the height limitation requirements of the above ground facility ordinance pursuant to Los Angeles Municipal Code section 6208VB and authorize mobility to install a 42-foot high wood monopole in the public right-of-way adjacent to 7251 West Sunset Boulevard on the Poinsettia Place of the lot. Mr. Ledoux on number 5.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Ledoux. I work for Bureau of Engineering Central District. This is a mobility pole that's 42 feet high. It is beside a Ralph's grocery store, which is a commercial lot. It's a very large store. The side of the property is a blank wall. It is back hidden very nicely. There's a lot of trees against the building. It's in CD4 and they're remaining neutral. I received no phone calls or emails pro or con on this, and nobody appealed it. There are street lights on that street. They're about 25 feet high, which this pole is considerably taller than that, so co-location would not be possible with street lighting on this job. And that's about it.
Any questions on Commissioner Jacinto on number 5?
Thank you, President James. Jeff, thank you for this. This is before we asked the companies to go ahead and get sign-off, formal sign-off from Bureau of Street Lighting. So this is a self-reported case of they're not able to co-locate on any facilities. Okay, great. Thank you.
Anything else? That's my grocery store, Rock and Roll Ralph's there. Yeah, and the one thing about this, those trees and the palm trees there are, how far away, is there a requirement on how far they have to be away from those trees?
Normally you have to be outside of the umbrella of the branches and leaves, which this pole is. Because the trees are not are shoved up against the building as landscaping, whereas this is 18 inches from the curb. Yeah. So it is outside of their major root system.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this one. It doesn't have some of the elements that others have had that have resulted in us having to work out an agreement. I think that this is the best agreement they're going to get on this one. Any other questions? I'll make a motion. Commissioner Cinto made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 5. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. Any issue sending number 5 forthwith? We'll send number 5 forthwith. Thank you. Agenda item number 6, Council Districts 8 and 9, budget increase and supplemental change order number 3, secondary sewer renewal program S13, Vernon Avenue and Budlong Avenue project, recommending that the board authorize $320,000 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of $1,422,996 for the project. And secondly, authorize the city engineer to issue supplemental agreement change order number 3 to MNR Construction Incorporated for a not to exceed amount of $60,000 for the SSRP Vernon Avenue and Budlong Avenue project to replace the collapsed sewer and stabilize the soil at the crossing over the abandoned Dockweiler outfall sewer. Mary Marcus on number 6.
Good morning, Commissioners and Board members. Mary Marcus with the Wastewater Conveyance Construction Division. As you've mentioned, this board report is regarding the Secondary Sewer Renewal Program, or SSRP, S13 project. It's requesting the board to authorize $320 in additional contingency for this project and authorize the city engineer to issue a supplemental agreement change order number 3 to MNR Construction. This project is one of a series of SSRP projects where the project scope includes sewer reaches with unknown conditions. Closed circuit CCTVs assessments are not available during design for those projects for various reasons, such as lack of access to maintenance holes or absence of maintenance holes or unverified sewer alignments. Per the contract specifications on those projects, the contractors are tasked with providing CCTV tapes for review. And upon review of those tapes, the project engineer defines the scope and adds required repairs to the scope of the project. For this particular project, I already handed out some pictures. Upon review of the provided CCTV tapes, several reaches were found to have collapsed and broken pipes and deteriorated maintenance hulls. Now, this is a small project. It was awarded in the vicinity of $1 million. It's a small project. We already have an estimated of 14 change orders. 3 are already executed. 1 is an emergency change order that was issued to the contractor, and 1 is per this supplemental agreement, and the rest of the change order will be pending approval of this board report. The total amount of the change orders for this project are estimated to be $384,000, which is 38% of the project awarded amount. Per the contract specifications, since it exceeds 25% of the contract amount, it will require a supplemental agreement change order. Hence, we are here.
Mary, do you think that this is the last request on this project?
I believe so, yes. We are 95% construction complete. We are done with the majority of the remove and replace work. The rest is predictable.
Commissioner Cinto?
Mary, you know, the documentation of the inaccessible, illegally encased maintenance hole base.
Mm-hmm.
Do we encounter this in this type of work in terms of where it goes under properties? I'm wondering how it becomes illegally encased in terms of this situation.
We've encountered some of those occasionally. It was detected on CCTVs. There's a lot of things people dump in the sewers, and this was one case where the access was blocked.
The access of the maintenance hole cover was blocked to
Yes.
some structure, and that's a contributing factor to this.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything further? All right, hopefully that'll be the last change order on this one, get this project done. Any motion on this one by Commissioner Cento, seconded by Commissioner Davis? Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 6. Any issue sending 6 forthwith? We will send 6 forthwith.
Thank you, sir.
Agenda item number 10, specifications submitted for board adoption and authorization to advertise for the invitation of bids. This is in Council District 11 for the Venice Boulevard Interceptor Sewer Unit 2 project. The estimate is $8,278,400. The bid receipt date is November 15th, 2017. Is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item number 10 forthwith? By Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 7. The subcontract outreach report, Council District 11, Arcadis US Incorporated, design support services for the Venice Auxiliary Pumping Plant Project, recommending that the board receive and refile the report. We've been getting a few of these lately. Mr. Chaudhry?
Good morning. Abed Chaudhry from Bureau of Engineering. Venice Pump Station is one of the city's largest pump station pumping sewage to close to the junction structure under Vista Del Mar, north of Hyperion Treatment Plant. Existing pump station was built about more than 60 years ago with the revision modification. It was 5 pumps, 400 horsepower each. Typical average daily dry weather flow is about 20 million gallons a day. And during extreme wet conditions, rainy seasons, we have experienced a flow up to 89 million gallons a day. For that flow, that amount of flow requires at least all 5 pumps to be available. Due to the nature of the pumps, the way they work 24/7, they do break down, and those are not off-the-shelf items. So the repair period is extended for weeks. So part of that for the safe sewage conveyance from Venice Pump Station, which doesn't have any choice of bypassing or rerouting the sewage to a 60 feet higher location, city has proposed a Venice Auxiliary Pumping Plant. Back in January 2015, we have awarded a board authorized us to award a subcontract to Arcadis for an amount of $1.2 million, which included about $300,000 as contingency item. Then there was some modification, a scope modification to integrate into a Los Angeles wide area network system, and there was some other enhancement to the project. Board authorized another amendment to the contract, revising the contract amount to $1.6 million on April 12, 2017. As of July 7th, the TOS 41 out of $1.6 million, we have spent only about $899,000 and $713,000 was left. I understand that TOS 41 kind of closed at that time. Then back in July 12th, board authorized sole source agreement to continue these Arcadis to complete the project design, which is barely past 90% design, to go and complete it back on July 12th. And today I'm here to report that basically that subcontractor outreach. So that report is given on a page number, I believe, I'm sorry, a little bit out of sequence. Page number 4, it shows what has been spent so far, which is 886,010.89. And then page number 5 shows the anticipated BIP under the revised categories. The total amount is the same. Consultants, sub-consultants are the same. It's just the anticipated percentage based on the amount left on their contract. Is there any questions?
Any questions at all? I don't have any questions. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Is there a motion that we receive and file a report by Commissioner Davis? Seconded by Commissioner Cento. Any objection? Without objection, the report will be received and filed. Agenda item number 8. Council Districts 4 and 5, tree removal, Metro West Side Subway Purple Line Extension Project, Section 1, Purple Line Transit Corridor Project. Recommending that the board first certify that the board has reviewed and considered the information in the environmental impact report along with the information set forth in any subsequent addendums. Secondly, find under the California Public Resources Code, Section 21166, and the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, Guidelines 15162, on the basis of substantial evidence contained in the whole record, that since certification of the final EIR, there have been no changes to the project or changes with respect to the circumstances under which the project is being undertaken or new information of substantial importance concerning the project, which cause new significant environmental effects or a substantial increase in the severity of previously identified significant effects, and therefore no subsequent EIR and no supplemental EIR is required for the project. Number 3, find under the California Public Resources Code, Section 15091, that changes or alterations have been required in or incorporated into the project which substantially lessen the significant environmental effects as identified in the final environmental impact report. Further, find that there is no feasible alternative or additional feasible mitigation measures within the board's powers that would substantially lessen or avoid any of the significant effects the project would have on the environment. 4, specify that the Urban Forestry Division of the Bureau of Street Services, located at 1149 South Broadway, is the custodian of the documents or other material which constitute the record of the proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. And 5, review and approve the removal of 3 trees of various species along Wilshire Boulevard for the Purple Line Transit Corridor project. Tree replacements are required. Mr. Tyson, is this one that is coming back for a renewal, basically?
It's the second time it's come back for an extension on the same 82 trees, of which only 3 now need to be removed, and 3 of the trees that were originally permitted and extended the second time won't require removal. So we are actually saving 3 trees out of the original 82, and it's due to the fact the way that this has been going along phase by phase. They get a better look at what's happening, and this is a good thing. We actually saved 3 trees. However, it's a lot to come back to the board to get extensions for, and I realize that. But yes, basically they have 3 trees out of the 82 that were originally permitted that still need to be removed. There's 6 trees there still, and 3 will remain protected in place.
Okay. So again, just so the record is clear, a tree removal permit was granted. However, once it's granted, they have, is it 90 days?
They had 1 year on the extension.
Oh, they have 1 year on this extension for the Purple Line?
So we're asking for another year extension on that extension just to be sure we don't have to come back to board again.
Okay, for these 3 trees?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but in the process, we were able to save 3 of those?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were they, what species were saved? Were they some of the palm trees?
I actually have to find that out. I called back to my colleague to find that out when I was riding the bus down here. I said, well, what 3 did we save?
I just remember that working with we had the community in here, community representatives in here initially when we worked on the original tree removal permit and had agreement of everybody, as I recall, as to which trees were going to be removed. I know they'll only be pleased to know that even more trees are being saved, so.
I can get back to the board with the 3 trees and their actual
Just send
locations.
me an email. I'm just curious.
I am too.
Yeah, just because I'd worked with them on it. Okay. Any questions on number 8? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 8, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 8. Any issues sending number 8 forthwith? We will send number 8 forthwith. And I would just say for the record, the delay on the tree removals does not indicate a delay on the Purple Line project. There are various aspects of the project that are done in stages, so this is just the tree aspect of it. Yeah. I think that project is actually going quite well from our Metro meetings. Agenda item number 9, Council District 4, above ground facility appeal, 590 North Beechwood Drive on the Clinton side of the street. Commissioner Ascento recommending that the board deny Jennifer Fitzgerald and Dan Butt's appeal of the Bureau of Engineering's determination to locate the above ground facility adjacent to 590 North Beechwood Drive on the Clinton side of the lot Mr. Ledoux on number 9, and then we have speaker cards from Jennifer Fitzgerald and from AT&T. So, Mr. Ledoux, you'll let us know what's happening here.
Good morning again. This is Jeff Ledoux from Bureau of Engineering Central District. This is an AT&T high-speed internet cabinet being placed adjacent to 590 North Beechwood Drive. It is in CD4. So far, they are remaining neutral on this. They have not weighed in one way or other. The adjacent property owner, Dan Butts, and let's see here, Jennifer Fitzgerald are the appellants. Basically, what their argument is that at some time in the past, while they have been residents at this location, there has been a significant homeless problem because that side of their lot has a very tall hedge and a number of mature trees, and apparently the homeless liked the shade on that particular lot, and so they were having a large issue, which in teaming up with the police department and other residents apparently got the homeless relocated someplace else and haven't had that problem. Their fear is that this cabinet will provide sort of a locus for drawing the homeless back into that area. The cabinet itself is not directly under any of the trees. It could be moved another 6 feet further out into the sunlight, but it would still be adjacent to that property. The other 3 lots on that block, one of them being the front yard, all have trees evenly spaced across the entire length of those lots. So the other 3 lots on the block are not a good candidate for moving the tree over. It could be moved further up Beechwood. There are 2 other lots there that do not have a whole lot of trees adjacent to that side, and it's a lot more open and a lot sunnier. The only downside to that is it's a lot further away from this location, and you would have to trench a lot more streets to do it.
You have to trench the street?
Yes, because you're going across an intersection to get to these other 2 lots. It's further, I think, west on, or I should say, further west on Clinton Avenue.
So we have to cut the street? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Repenning, your light was on.
Yeah, can I ask, what is the height of that hedge in the front?
The owner is here. They could probably tell you, but that hedge appears to be 10 feet or more.
Isn't there a city code? Isn't it 6 feet? That's the.
There are some codes. I'm not real familiar with them. Normally, I think they're like 6 feet or less. But
Ed, do you know?
I'm not sure. It appears to be on private property, although sometimes, the right-of-way is wider than you might think. There is a code, I think, that limits, as Jeff was saying, fences to 6 feet, but I don't know how that would apply to this particular hedge.
Okay.
And the hedge does look, at least from my Google Street View picture, there's a couple of different heights of that hedge.
Yeah, I see if the cabinet is 40.5 inches, so that's, 3.5 feet-ish. And it looks to be more than.
that hedge is huge.
Okay. All right, that's, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything further? So let's hear from Jennifer Fitzgerald. Good morning.
Good morning. Can I touch that?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. Sorry. Hi, I'm Jennifer Fitzgerald, and I live at 590 North Beechwood. It's on Beechwood and Clinton that they're talking about. I believe wooden fences are supposed to be 6 feet, because I talked to somebody in the LA City planner of how fences have to be 6 feet, but if it's natural growth, it doesn't have to be, is what I was told. Anyway, they're talking about a box like this, and I get it. Listen, I'm not a conglomerate. I don't have multiple layers of executives and lawyers. I'm a citizen, and I pay my property taxes, and I would just like to be heard. On the side there on Clinton Street is a very shaded area. That area, I'm not talking about I don't want the box there because it's ugly. I'm not talking about it does or doesn't emit anything. I am literally talking about safety. And I have a letter from Senior Lead Officer Joseph Paleo, who is our lead officer, who has recommended that you not do this because of the safety issue. If you could, wouldn't mind reading this letter. We all know those boxes attract litter, and what we've had, this one is on Larchmont in Clinton, which is like 2 blocks west. We've had a lot of people urinating, sleeping, vomit, things like that, because look, we live in LA, we know this. The area that I'm talking about is called Scooter Hill for the kids in our neighborhood. And I wasn't going to come today, I was just going to roll over and let the conglomerate win. But the lady down the block from me has lived there for over 40 years, and I told her about it. And she's like, well, you can't, she called them indigents, but she's like, you can't let that happen because my kids grew up riding their scooters there. They learned how to ride their bikes there. Kids are there all day long because it's a gentle slope and it's shaded. So kids are there constantly. That's where everybody in the neighborhood, they call it Scooter Hill. They ride their scooters and they learn to ride their bikes there specifically because it's shaded. Across the street is not shaded, and that's why the homeless people were not hanging out there. What I propose is 1 block on Clinton, 1 block east of us, is a house on 590 Plymouth, between Plymouth and Windsor. It's not as shaded and it's not a hill. What the kids do, they go down Scooter Hill, which is where AT&T wants to do the thing. They go around the block, they go up Beechwood, they go back down the hill. It's like the loop that all the kids in the neighborhood do.
Do you know the address of the place you propose?
590 Plymouth. It's one.
Oh,
We're 590
Plymouth.
Beechwood.
Okay.
It's 590 Plymouth. It's just 1 block. I have pictures if you want to take a look. Right now, it's not, I don't think, owned by anybody. It might be owned by a flipper because if you see on the back of the pictures, it's gutted right now. So nobody's even going to fight you because nobody lives there. So you could take a look. Look there. The kids aren't there. I don't care that the box is not pretty. I don't care about whatever. I care about the neighbor down the block started crying. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to this meeting. She's like, you're going to have homeless people there. And all the kids are going to be, that's not safe. And she literally started crying. So I was like, I'm going to go. Here's the thing. You have an opportunity to save a little tiny sweet piece of Los Angeles. You could just move it across the street, which is sunny, and the homeless people won't hang out. You could move it 1 block east, and it would not cause a hazard to kids. I'm literally, if you read Officer Palaio's letter, it's literally a safety thing that I'm asking for the kids in the neighborhood. I have kids. Everybody you know that neighborhood. Everybody has kids. They're all on that block all the time. And so, I don't know, that lady started crying and I was like, you just have an opportunity to save a sweet little spot in LA. Why not take it? You could just move it across the street. You could move it 1 block down. And I get it. I'm not a conglomerate. They're going to win. They got lawyers. I get it. But I just wanted you to know you have an opportunity to save something, and you should.
Any questions for Ms. Fitzgerald? Thank you, ma'am. I've got Noel Palace and John Johnston. Either one, both got speaker cards in. You could let us know what we're doing here and address the issues raised by Ms. Fitzgerald.
Good morning. My name is Noel Pele. I'm joined by my colleague, John Johnston, with regards to the installation of the cabinet at the location. I would just like to go ahead and address the issue of the gentle slope with the Scooter Hill issue. This cabinet is not actually going to go on the part of the parkway where kids would be riding their scooter on. It would be on the grass part of the parkway on that. So with regards to that, though, I believe that point has been satisfactorily mitigated on this. With regards to the issue of the homeless, it's quite anecdotal, and I totally understand it, but just for the record, I want to go ahead and state that both my colleague John and I have driven the neighborhood on several occasions, and we have not witnessed any homeless in the area within the immediate residential component of this community, which does not necessarily mean that they don't exist, and I don't want to diminish her concern on this with regards to it, though. In order to satisfy
the community obviously has a good relationship with the senior lead officer on dealing with homelessness issues.
Right, and we completely understand. We did make an offer I personally, to meet with the officer either at the station or at the location, and unfortunately all of our requests went unreturned on that. We wanted to go ahead and speak with him, find out the specifics of it, lay out our rationale for the location of it, basically have an interactive dialogue with the officer. But unfortunately, because of the scheduling and because of either issues that he may have been working on, we did not receive any callback from the officer on this. Now, with regards to the placement of the cabinet, we are amenable to moving it, and John can go ahead and speak to the specifics of it. I believe that was one of the locations that Jeff had indicated in his report. Moving it further, I believe, west of the location, still with observing the 45-foot visibility triangle for that intersection, and also observing the AGF in which we would not necessarily need to go ahead and re-notify by moving it there. We believe that that's a equally as good a location as the one we have selected. That location, though, may receive a little bit more direct sunlight for a bit longer period during the day, which would then satisfactorily, in our opinion, mitigate the concern by both the resident and the senior lead officer.
Well, partially. But what about the 590 Plymouth?
That was the location that...
That's the location that Ms. Fitzgerald suggested, a block away.
A block away. Because of the nature of this product, we need to go ahead and center it in what would be our central distribution area for it, though.
So that's not in the central distribution area?
Moving it further out would completely, I believe it would encroach on another zone that we have on there, and it would not necessarily cover the area that we're trying to go ahead and provide service for in this community.
And you have service already provided in that affects the 590 Plymouth area?
John can speak a little bit more clear on that, though.
We have copper service for everybody right now, but in regards to that neighborhood, that would be part of a different distribution area.
Okay, so 590 Plymouth doesn't affect the distribution area that you're attempting to serve here?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, so we're back to 590 Beechwood. All right, and if we move it, the area that you said you can move it without cutting the street more, that's how many feet away?
We've got photos. It's very slight. It's maybe 6 to 8 feet.
But it's better for the sunlight issue?
It does provide a little bit more sunlight during the day.
Same property?
Same property, yes, sir. It keeps it within the 45-foot rule that we can't be any closer than 45 feet to the intersection or to the corner of the property.
Oh, I see what you did.
That's as close. That's as far as we can move it to the west. And moving it to the east, we're starting to get close to the trees.
Okay. What about, were there any other options? I noticed this item was continued before. Was it continued to attempt to find other locations?
I believe there was a communication issue with having Jennifer know when this hearing was.
Okay. Commissioner Cento?
Thank you, President James. Gentlemen, I want to ask a question regarding the option for locating the cabinet across the street where the senior lead officer had recommended or had put in his testimony to. Is that feasible?
That particular lot, number one, it has the front door to that property facing Clinton, so we don't put them on the front of people's homes. Number two, as the representative from BOE mentioned, there are evenly spaced trees. And urban forestry has very strict guidelines for us as to how close to trees, how close to canopies, et cetera, that we can be. And there isn't an appropriate place there that isn't near their front door.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Repenning?
So what is the guidelines as far as placing these near trees?
It kind of varies based on the species of trees, but the general rule that BOE has on their checklist is no closer than 2 feet from the canopy of the tree.
To me, I think looking at what, because I think usually we look at these and we try to promote locations where the visibility is somewhat decreased. The proposed spot here, I mean, to me, having something closer to a tree or where there's existing, you know, other infrastructure like trees makes it less of an obvious, you know, thing that sticks out.
Part of the agreement that we have with the Department of Cultural Affairs is the installation of one plant on either side. And those are plants that will grow and create what you're describing.
I see. Okay.
Will that happen here?
Yes, sir.
I mean, thank you. I have no more questions.
Commissioner Davis?
Have we had an opportunity to get feedback from the constituents yet in terms of your recommendation? I guess she hasn't, the neighbor who presented before us today hasn't had a chance to give feedback on this proposal that you have.
The sunnier proposal?
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
Street.
Yeah, that's fine. We're happy to. Ms. Fitzgerald?
I'd be interested in her feedback.
Commissioner Davis is asking for your thoughts on the alternative proposal that results in more sun to deal with that issue. We just because we make an oral record, yeah, come on back up.
So where now?
I'm asking for your feedback on what they have presented as an alternative solution to the problem.
This looks like the same spot to me. Has this been moved?
Yeah, it's been moved about 6 feet.
6 feet to the west.
That's more of an eyesore. I don't get how. I don't understand how that's a solution.
Well, but we've got a little bit of a well, go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, what I wanted to know was what your feedback is, and basically what I'm thinking I hear you say is that while this is an effort, it is not the best effort that perhaps we might be able to work together on. Is that pretty accurate?
That's a much better way of saying it.
So that's what I wanted to know. Thank you for your feedback. So having said that and listening to our testimony today, I think that I'm very pleased that you have come up with an effort. But what I'd like to do, and I hope that this could fit into your operation, is that you weren't able to contact the senior lead officer. For some reason, your schedules conflicted with one another. I would like to see you be given enough time for your schedules to get together and work together more intensely with him to come up with something that might be acceptable to both parties. And I do appreciate this effort. But I think our goal is, to the extent that we possibly can, to work with the neighbors. So I'd like to see us take a little more time to do this with a more solid foundation towards resolution. When you tell me that you haven't even met with the senior officer and then we go ahead and present this, that's fine. Sometimes we get lucky and we make a unilateral decision that is in the best interest of everyone. But then on the other hand, sometimes we don't. Based upon what I've just heard from the constituent, they would like to have something with a little more thought and consensual decision-making effort, if at all possible. I do realize that you are the corporation, that you are AT&T, I realize that. But I also realize that your core value, to the extent that's reasonable, you'd like to work with those with whom you are implementing these boxes to come up with a solution that's acceptable, if it's at all possible. And I will conclude by saying I believe it's possible, and I would love to see us go back and get that opportunity to have that meeting. I don't think it takes a long time to do it, quite actually.
Well, with regards to that, though, I would defer to the board for your assistance in making contact with the officer, because I have to be quite honest, I did reach out via both email and voicemail, and I did not receive any kind of communication back from him.
Well, I can tell you personally, I'd be more than willing to do that. I don't know how the president feels about it, but having worked in the community before for over 10 years, I've had success in contacting the police department and working collectively with them on resolving community problems. So feel free to use my services if there's no one else in the department that will do it.
Commissioner Davis, if I can just add to that, part of the AGF process is making notifications to the neighborhood, and we made all the notifications requesting feedback or their disapproval, etc., and there was only the one appeal that came back. None of the other residents in the local area that were required required to make the notifications for council office, et cetera. No one had any issues, just this one.
The council office is opposed to the moving of the box to another location?
They've remained neutral on this application.
They're neutral?
Yes.
Okay, so then that leads us back to us. So my recommendation is that we do everything we possibly can. I mean, I don't think that this issue is the end of the world. Quite actually, I see it from where I sit as something that can be solved. And I hope that your company sees it the same way. And all I'm asking us to do is to put forth more of an effort to talk to the police department, in this case, who has been mentioned as a person who has been working with the community on it. And I think it's in our best interest to do that, particularly from the corporate point of view if we can. I don't want to waste your time, but at the same time, I want to use as much of our effort to solve the problem as we can, and I think we have a little more effort left. And so I'd like to see that happen if it can.
To that, though, would you be amenable to agreeing to a condition on it that the desired location would need to fit within the notification pattern for this specific application and not have to re-notify?
Noah, let me work on this a little bit. Commissioner Davis wants you to go back to the police officer. How many times did you approach the police officer?
I could say off the top of my head, but at least 2 or 3 times.
Okay. That's a reasonable amount. And so you left voicemail and email?
Yes.
And you didn't get a response to either one?
Either one.
Okay. To be fair to you, Commissioner Davis has offered to reach out, if I heard you correctly,
That is correct.
to reach out to the police officer as well. I've got the police officer's thoughts in here. It's written down.
Right.
Okay. If he says that if this is accurate, the police officer says, I would recommend that this above-ground box be installed away from the shady part of Clinton and Beechwood, if at all possible, in an undesirable location in the sun, where it will not be as inviting to those seeking to disturb the peace and tranquility of the neighborhood. Well, we offered the sun a minute ago, and one point that was made by Ms. Fitzgerald was, then that makes it more of an eyesore. So either we want it in the sun or we don't want it in the sun. And Commissioner Repenning made the point earlier that that we usually try to make these less. I understand that you got your hand up, ma'am, and so we'll get to you. We'll get to you in just a minute. I'm trying to get this, okay? So Commissioner Repenning points out that we try to keep these out of the site if we can, and so to me it sounds a little inconsistent with, well, we'd rather have it in the sun. Well, the sun's going to, that's light, so we're putting it out in more light. So you can't complain about one and have it, you can't have it both ways. I mean, if you want it in the sun, it's going to appear, which I understand why you would do that on this unique issue regarding the complaint about it attracting people to it, that if you take it out of the shade and put it in the sun, there's less likely people are going to seek it because there's no shade. But then you can't complain about it being more unsightly. So the issue that we have from the LAPD is pretty clear. They've said they want it, it's better for the homelessness issue that's been put on the table for the sun. As I understand Ms. Fitzgerald's discussion earlier this morning, she said the same thing. We would prefer that it be moved to an area that's more sunny. You have said that if we move it 6 feet away, it's more sunny. All right? So I think it's fine if Commissioner Davis wants to attempt to approach the officer to get more of an explanation. That's fine. But I wouldn't, I think to be fair to you, because it's been continued once. How many weeks was it continued, Dr. Campos?
It was originally heard on October 2nd, continued to today.
Okay, so 9 days. So 9 days, so that's over a week. I would recommend another week for Commissioner Davis to have an opportunity to speak to the police officer, and then on October the 18th we make a decision. Regarding the issue of your question, Mr. Palace, regarding what the police officer can recommend. I mean, it's not really the police officer's expertise to know what the parameters are within which you have to work. So, it sounds like we've got his recommendation, but and maybe we hear it again, but his recommendation has to be, we have to work within those same parameters. And so that's the choice that we can make. The one thing I am, and we work very hard with a lot of these, as you all know, because I think you get tired of us sometimes. You may never admit it, but, you know, being polite. But, you know, you get tired of us sending you back to find alternative locations. But I've said it on the record before, and I'll say it again. This calendar year, you all have had pretty remarkable success finding agreements with the community and other locations. Remarkable success. So I appreciate that, and maybe there's an answer here. What I am not going to vote for is more cuts in the street, because when you cut the street, you are harming the infrastructure of the community for the movement of a cabinet that's not going to make much difference, not worth cutting the street for. And I think, unfortunately, because we do consider alternative addresses that community members bring in and have success there, the 590 Plymouth doesn't work. So we have to deal within the parameters in which we are working. Ms. Fitzgerald, you wanted to add something? Sure, yes, ma'am.
The 6 feet move that way is still really shaded. There's 2 big pine trees. I don't get how it's not in the sun. I live there. It's totally shaded. There's a big old pine tree there that's always there, and it meets another one that's on Beechwood. So moving it 6 feet that way is still in the shade. It's not that, it's that, I don't know, maybe it looks it in the picture, but it's still the exact same shade. So that's why I didn't get that part.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ledoux.
Need everybody there, we can all look.
Gotcha, Mr. Ledoux.
There is one thing that Mr. Johnson reminded me of, and that is Beechwood is under a street moratorium until March 2nd of next year. So Beechwood, which is the cross street there, because we said it could go further west, is newly paved.
We're definitely not. I already said I don't want to cut the street more, so we're really not going to cut the street that's under a moratorium. So that's out as well. Okay. So Commissioner Davis?
Yeah, I just want to say I'll move expeditiously, and again, I don't have any more remarks other than those that I have made, that, you know, by collectively getting together consensually, while they are not experts in your box, you're not an expert at certain things like the shades on the tree. So collectively working together, even though we have different sets of skills, is for the betterment of the decision that we make. So I stand with that.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Penning?
I do appreciate you guys taking the comments from the senior lead officer and the resident into consideration and coming up with a proposal that would be further away from the shade of the trees. I understand, you know, there's a question of whether it's fully in the sunlight, but I appreciate you guys taking that into that feedback and working with it. I mean, to me, I think, you know, there are 2 options, and let's see which one works better for the resident of these options on, you know, for, you know, the original one, the second one. I don't care which one, but I think, you know, the thing about this location is because of the high hedge, it won't be visible from the home. It won't be visible from the yard, and that's not going to be true with a lot of other properties in the area. So those are my thoughts, and I would say let's take that week and see which one works, and let's get, you know, back in touch with the officer and go from there. Thank you.
So thank you, Commissioner Davis. Thank you all. Thank you, Ms. Fitzgerald. What we won't want to do on Wednesday, a week from today, is rehash this hearing again. But what we will do is have a supplemental hearing for new information that we may learn from Commissioner Davis's and yours joint attempt at reaching the senior lead officer. If you still don't have success with the senior lead officer, then and Ms. Fitzgerald, if you have a relationship with the senior lead officer, you might let him know, hey, Commissioner Davis over here is going to be, going to be stepping in and to see what we can do, and then we can maybe get at least their opinion beyond what we have on the document here. All right. Thank you, everyone. So we will see you all back on this item on October 18th, but I would like, out of fairness to the applicant, to take a vote on October 18th. Do we have any shot clock issues we have to deal with? We do not. Okay. All right. Thank you both. Thank you, ma'am. That'll be the order of the day for agenda item number 9, continued as is to October 18th, 2017. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Okay, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.